It's us. We're back. It's Elim Church. We're online. We're on Buzzsprout. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place. And sometimes my head's all over the place with all the stuff that's going on. But you can find us in the world of podcasting. Continue to listen. We thank you so much for sharing everything that we do here. Have a beautiful day, you lovely people, wherever you are today. Keep safe, keep pressing, but keep listening. Bye-bye. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us live on Twitter and obviously right across the globe as we broadcast this. Wherever you are today, we thank you so much for sharing everything that we do and everything we say here as we record this. We have our good brother with us, Reverend Brian Greenaway, a good friend of ours and mine, and he is from a fantastic ministry, and you might recognize him from Maoz, and I always have to be careful how I pronounce that, but just want to say hello to everybody that's joining us online for this live broadcast across the world, and also for those in the world of Spotify and iHeartRadio and many other social platforms that this goes out on obviously Alexa and Amazon Music and all the podcasting platforms. We are so grateful for all the shares that are going out, thousands across the world. But whatever your time zone is, it is almost 4 o'clock here on a Thursday afternoon. And we welcome Brian, and it's good to see him. We're going to have an update, so we're going to just say, hi, Brian, how are you?
Hi, Ben. Great to be with you again.
It's good to have you, our friend, our brother, back with us. So let's have a little listen to where you have been.
All right. Okay, well, just the other week, at the end of November, middle of November, actually, I just returned from Israel.
Interesting.
Yes, yeah, had a good time.
Really good. So what is happening in your ministry well, you know what I mean when I say your ministry, in the ministry of Maoz, Israel ministry, everything that you've been doing? You're going to give us a rundown. You went out there for a week, 10 days.
A week? We was there for a week. Yeah.
Ministering?
Just visiting projects, seeing people that are taking our work forward, visiting our ministry centre and studio in Jerusalem as well.
Wow, amazing stuff. So what was you up to? We had a little conversation just off air about wood-burning stoves, and that really is interesting to me, but we'll give that a little bit of time in a moment. So, Brian, for all our listeners, for everyone that's listening in the world of podcasting and those that are joining us on Twitter at this moment across the world on this broadcast, give us a quick... wrong thing to say. Give us a run through what is the ministry about.
Okay, sure. Yeah, well, our main aim of our ministry is to spread the gospel, spread the good news of Jesus, or Yeshua, as we know him in Israel, across Israel, both to Jew and Arab. So that's at the core of everything that we do.
Yeah.
We do quite a lot. We've been there 45 years, so we've built up a lot of ministry streams in that time. And we do that through one real phrase, really, and that is making believers stronger. Because, of course, in the local context in Israel, if believers are stronger, if they're healthy, then they will be more effective for the gospel.
Sure.
So that's what we do.
Discipleship, making believers stronger.
Right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
And can you give us a bit of a rundown on a Messianic Jew? Okay, I know there's two different types. I got a bit of an idea. Just so it's good to revisit some of the stuff, and you've been with us for quite a while. So what is a Messianic Jew?
Yeah, it's important, isn't it? Because you say that to some people, and that it means different things.
It does.
Funny. So you've got to sort of explain yourself. So what I always say to people is that I am a Jewish believer in Jesus. That's what it is.
That's that simple. Sense. I'm a Jewish believer in Jesus.
So because there are other people who call themselves Messianics, but they don't believe in Jesus. So that distinction needs to be made. So Messianic Jews, Jewish believers in Jesus, believe exactly the same things fundamentally as Christians, exactly the same. So they believe, in a Trinitarian God as revealed in Jesus, and that Jesus died an atoning death upon the cross for us, and so we can be forgiven. That's the only way to salvation. There's no other name given.
So it's a full Old Testament, New Testament belief as we do as Christians.
No difference there in that sense.
From Genesis through to Revelation.
Yeah, fundamental beliefs.
That's brilliant. So we get a bit of an idea, and there's so much history, isn't there? And it's fascinating some of the stuff that you bring to the mics when we have our conversations. So you've just been out to Israel. You've come back. I see you the other week at a venue. Well, we won't get where we say that, as we was in the same place at the same time, obviously. And you just literally come back from Israel.
It was the day before, yes.
Day before.
We arrived the early hours of the Monday morning.
Ooh.
Just a week there. But visiting, because of course I'm the UK director.
Yeah.
But our ministry is bigger than that. It's based in Israel. It's a worldwide ministry. It has offices in Canada, in Brazil, in Southeast Asia, in Germany, a new office in France, and of course the States as well. So we have.
Is there any particular area where it's growing quicker than any other, purely because of it's new, it's fresh, or do you find in all your points of reference where your offices are, they're doing about the same? Is there any particular part of the world that they're more hungry for this Israel news?
I think the Far East has been one of the biggest growth areas.
The Far East?
Interestingly, yeah. There are funny statistics, like some of your listeners may have heard of the Garden Tomb.
Yeah.
Now, the Garden Tomb is probably not the place, don't want to dispel them, probably not the place where Jesus' tomb was, but it is a wonderful place to go. It's run by British Christians, and it's just such a lovely place to go.
Okay.
And it is a representation of the Garden Tomb, and it is. I would always recommend sort of going there. But it was interesting. Now, I can't remember which nation it is, but the most finances, and it's a British charity that runs it, most finances for the Garden Tomb comes from a country in the Far East. And I can't remember when the country is.
That's amazing.
Country it's not Japan or China or Korea. It's one of the other island countries. But yeah, so there is a lot of interest in people from the Far East and from India.
Okay.
Big numbers of people coming from both of those countries.
Really? Can we just backtrack a minute? Right. You said about the Garden Tomb. Now, when I think about the Garden Tomb, obviously the burial place of Christ. So are we saying that there's a 50-50 chance that it might not be the exact place?
Well, in recent years, they've done a lot of research. There's a church in Jerusalem now that's called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Yes.
Now, I never recommend people going there because to me as a believer in Jesus, it's a place that has lots of idols.
Okay.
And it's a very sad place because it's a very dark place.
Right.
But there has been a lot more archaeology in the last couple of years where they've dug down deeper. And because of the shape of the archaeology and the shape of the city, if it was 2,000 years ago, it most likely is the place of the cross, quite possibly, and or the Garden Tomb. There definitely has some historical provenance in that location, but it's been so built on by church after church after church. The Crusaders built a church.
It's literally, when you say built on, you mean layer upon layer.
So it's hard to find.
So it's very, okay.
Because when the original church was built, it was probably only about 300 AD.
Yeah.
So they would have had a good idea. They would have only been four or five people away from the people who saw it happen.
But generation after generation, and building and commercialism possibly, and
Jerusalem. Built upon.
It's just layer after layer. So it's very difficult to pinpoint. But okay, so there's a few interesting.
That's the important thing.
The most important thing, it happened.
Yes, yeah.
It happened, and I think you're right in what you're probably coming to a point of saying is through the power of archaeology and through the power of digging and looking, it's just going, this happened. Well, look, we've got this, we've found this. And it's great when they find certain things.
It's interesting.
It's not that it strengthens our faith. Well, it's difficult, isn't it? It's just like it gives us, wow, look, they've got this, they found this. And what fascinates me, what about the Garden of Gethsemane?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about Gethsemane is that it's a much larger area than people realise. If you go to the Mountain of Olives today, it is mainly a graveyard, a massive Jewish graveyard. Then it's got some houses on it, and it's an area where many Palestinians live called Silwan.
Yeah.
And then it's also the touristy bit at the very top where loads of coaches go and look over. And then it's got several churches on it, as you'd expect, 5 or 6 churches. The Church of the All Nations. There's the Church of the Assumption of Mary. There's the Russian Orthodox Church with this lovely golden roof. There are various other churches, and on that area there is a small area of the size of it's square, so it's bigger than a football pitch probably, which is got
Right.
olive trees in it, which are probably over 1,000 years old, maybe older. And so many people go there and they look at the trees, and it's a lovely kept garden. But the thing is, in the time of Jesus, the whole of the Mount of Olives was covered in olive groves.
So
it
we'll
could
never-
have been anywhere along there, anywhere, several hundred yards or more, maybe about a mile. It might be about a mile long, the Mount of Olives. Terrible distances.
No.
Somewhere
Yeah.
there.
So what we're saying is, again, there's no actual real reference to say these trees. We can guarantee you that Christ has walked by these trees, but it's all fascinating stuff, isn't it?
It is interesting.
It really is interesting. It's not so much that we're putting on the weight more on the trees and all the fabric of what's going on, but to actually visualize it and to see it and to get some picture formation of what's gone on. It must be really interesting.
It's good for that.
So we just had a quick chat. The reason I think about the garden so much is just what obviously happens so much in the garden. It's quite fascinating. And I've just often wondered what it looked like today. And you've mentioned about the Holy Sepulchre and the tomb and everything goes along with that. So you've been out to Israel. You're back home, obviously, back into the UK, back into ministry, the thrive of travelling and ministering and obviously what you do in church as well. So what did you do when you land? Tell us, give us your 10-day, give us your trip,
Right,
give us your week's trip.
So we stayed in Jerusalem, my wife and I, Elizabeth and I, and it was going to be a rest, and it was. We hadn't been to Israel for over 2 years because of the so it was just lovely to be back home. I was thinking of it as home, my other home, and so it was just nice. And we went into stayed near Jerusalem. We went to our ministry centre, which is in downtown Jerusalem, where we have a studio where we train worship artists and musicians from all over the land.
And
really
how's that going? How's that been going?
Do you know, they are booked out, absolutely booked out. All different believers, Messianic believers go there. They receive training and mentoring, and they can do recording and producing. And we've got a great team that carries forward our work. I mean, it's not the only thing we do, because we do publishing, and we've got our grant making, and we've got our links to congregations, over 100 congregations as well. So there's lots to do for the team that they're there, and they are just so busy. It really is flat out. Really.
So are we saying anyone from the area or wherever can come to the studios in Israel?
Yeah.
And record.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, don't just turn up on the door.
No, obviously, go through the booking system.
Get in contact, with Kobe Engineer who ran our ministry, and talk to them, about what you've got in mind. And the other thing we're really pleased is that we're constantly getting visitors from across the world.
Really?
So the States,
musicians,
South America,
coming in,
teams coming to see the work, musicians wanting to record and to just learn and to bring what they have as well.
Wow.
We've not done it because we're trying to create some sort of thing for ourselves.
New album.
We believe that worship should be unique to each country.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, part of the backstory of that, I'm sure if I've shared it before, but Shani went to Brazil one day. Now, she's our chief creative director. She went to Brazil, and they were worshipping in Portuguese, as they do in Brazil. They were singing a British worship song. That's fine, okay, or a Hillsong song, something like that, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But then she thought to herself, surely each country should have its unique sound.
Yeah.
Shouldn't Portuguese-speaking Brazilians have a unique worship sound? And each country should have its unique sound as God works through that. So she thought about that, and she thought, well, how can we, one, help the nations to do that? But secondly, what is the unique sound of Israel? Because that's where it all began. Everything we know about worship, we read in the Bible, don't we?
We do.
It was David, really, that implemented it.
It was David, yeah.
Think of David. He was quite radical, really. We've got the Torah that teaches them how to, in a sense, the law and everything like that. But then David came along and said, hey, guys, I'm going to put some music into this stuff. And he was a worshipper. People laughed at him because he danced, didn't they?
They did. He danced.
He was a
worshipper. What are you doing?
And he got all the singers together. And he had a recording studio. Do you know that?
Hang on a minute. Let's spend a bit of time on this. Come on, tell us.
Well, it says, we know that he wrote a lot of psalms, and
we do.
Loads he wrote that we don't have written down because God inspired certain ones. But it says he had scribes in the temple who wrote everything down. That's a recording studio, isn't it?
It certainly is, actually.
It's like a podcast.
It's a podcast. It is a written.
Write it and read it out. But,
really?
So if you think about that, there was
he's an unusual character, isn't he? He was a warrior. He was a fighter. Yeah. He was everything that was going.
He was a man of passion.
He was a man he dipped his toe in everything, didn't he? He went for everything. But it's interesting how God used him and through the Psalms and that. But I think there's one area that is an interesting part of David, that you think of him as a shepherd boy and a fighter and a warrior, but also he was a musician.
He was a musician, a worshipper.
Very gifted, and he worshipped. And he had a heart after God.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
So, and obviously the king and everything that went along with his. So his life story is a very powerful story. So you went out there, you got your studio up and running. Now, obviously that's up for rent. People rent that. People use the space. You can.
They do. They help us in that
and
sense,
how can people find that way? Obviously online. Go straight on your website.
Maozisrael.org is our international website.
Yes.
And on there is a link to what's called the Fellowship of Artists.
Wow.
Fellowship of Artists, which is a link on there, israelimusic.com as well. People can find out a lot more what we're doing, what we're recording, what songs we're releasing, what our next project is. israeliworshipmusic.com. israeliworshipmusic.com.
That's it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
go to maozisrael.org.
We'll find it somewhere. We'll find that.
It's
Brian.
all on there.
That's
so
okay.
That was the studio, and
so that was interesting.
Centre. Yeah, and of course we do. As I say, we do lots of other work as well. And then we went to visit a new congregation, which started during the lockdown.
Okay.
So this is in downtown Jerusalem. And we've really helped this congregation in many ways. They're a young congregation. Many of them were not believers a couple of years ago.
Amazing.
Some of them from very troubled backgrounds, so maybe some from criminal backgrounds, and God has really helped them out of that. And also, this congregation is really mixed. Now, this is quite unusual in Israel. So it has Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews. That means European and Middle Eastern Jews together.
Right.
Then it has those from the Ethiopian background, but it has those believers who've come from an Orthodox Jewish background and also people from a liberal background. And that's quite unusual to see a mix of the different streams of Israeli society. So it's obviously God doing a work there.
Yeah, it can only be God bringing...
It is, to bring that...
Because you will have such a difference in belief, culture to a degree, upbringing,
culture,
everything doesn't rub together.
No, it doesn't, no.
It's like
the kingdom.
Except for the kingdom.
Kingdom glue, that's what it is.
The kingdom glue. So what we have here is a clear move of God.
Yeah, it does.
Bringing human beings together to worship him.
That's right. And they outgrew their building.
They outgrew the building.
We rented another one, and when we went there was no room. And I thought,
hang on a minute.
I'm in my 50s and we were old. That's another thing. They're a young congregation. But they've outgrown that building now, so they're going to have to knock a wall down and take away the pastor's office.
Brilliant.
More space.
Really?
And even then, it's not going to last long. They're growing.
So there is serious growth.
There is, yeah. It's really exciting to see it with your own eyes.
In a real biblical church that has not been westernized.
That's true, yeah.
Is there any way, any links anyone can find, obviously on site, online, where you do live stream servicing, where people can link in and watch a service? Do any of the churches do that out there?
Yeah, some do. Some of the more established ones. We do sometimes have problems
with
an element of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish guys who don't like believers. And so sometimes congregations have had problems. So there are other congregations that are more established, that have been around a few more years, like Tiferet Yeshua.
Yeah.
That's a congregation in Tel Aviv. They do live stream every Friday at 4 p.m.
I think you've said that before.
Yeah, TiferetYeshua.org
it
is. And then also Beit Hallel is a congregation in Ashdod, which I've been to several times, and they do live broadcasting as well. So there are congregations that you can watch online if people want to get a taste of it.
That's the beauty of online, isn't it? That you can not possibly able to financially get to there, but you can literally watch and see a real traditional Jewish, Christian, Hebrew. Goodness gracious, all these words, I'm learning too much, I'll just stick to the language that I'm familiar with. So you've met a new congregation church, you've been to the studio. What sort of accommodation do you stay in? This fascinates me. What is it like?
We used a hotel this time.
Okay.
We booked a hotel that was in Central
and just
Jerusalem.
booked in. And what they like?
It's a wonderful hotel. Really
perfect.
Nice.
Good food, everything well.
Really good
comfortable.
Hotel, lovely hotel. Yeah, the thing is with Israel is that it's very expensive.
Yes.
So, it's about 40% higher than here.
Is it really?
Yeah, the cost of living is, you go out and, you can go to a good place near the Machin Yehuda market. You can get falafel type thing for 15 shekels, which is £3 or £4. And that's good. But actually, if you want to, like, for example, McDonald's, if you go to McDonald's and think, I'll have a nice burger, you think, oh man, is that the bill?
Is that it?
It is. Everything is expensive. And when people from Israel come here, they say, isn't it cheap? Even Israeli products are cheaper in England than they are in Israel because of the taxation.
Got you. Yeah, the taxation.
It's tax.
So, so if you're going to go out there, you've got to make sure you've got to have a decent bit of money with you to cover everything. And safety. I know we talk about this a lot. And there wasn't too long ago, wasn't it, where we see some stuff on the news? And
2 bombs last week.
2 bombs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2 bombs. Now, how close was you to that going on, to the area and everything that goes on?
Well, we were back by then, but yeah, it was very near. So there's a place called the Cord Bridge. So there's a road that runs called Jaffa Street from the old city right through the more modern city, right up to the central bus station. Where the trains come in from the airport, where everybody gets buses. It's a very busy area. And it's called the Cord Bridge because there's a big bridge there that's sort of shaped like David's harp. So it's the cords of a harp. Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Wow.
It's all lit up overnight and everything. But there's a big bus terminal there. So one of the bombs was there. And the other one was further north, was at what they call the gateway to the city there as well. Okay. And these are big bus terminals. And we know people who should have been at that bus stop at that time. And it was quite amazing because, I mean, the bomb had nails and marbles in it. One person died on site and one died later on. It was quite amazing. 7:30 in the morning. You know what big bus terminal?
7:30 in a bus stop.
Horrible. We haven't had bombs like that in Israel for ages. There was another one just this week.
Was that fired or was that literally?
It was in a bag, sort of bag.
It was left in a bag.
Just put some rucksack down and triggered it with a phone.
Wow, this is the seriousness of what... Yeah. So this is not a familiar thing, is it really?
We haven't had bombs like that for a while in Israel. Obviously, they have the rocket issue. They have people attacking checkpoints, trying to kill soldiers. A soldier it's happening all the time, actually, trying to hit checkpoints, running people over. Then there was the incident with the Druze, Lebanese, and that almost kicked off into a bit of a sort of, not a civil war, but it's a couple of IDF soldiers have been arrested, Druze. Now, the Druze it's like a Muslim cult, if you can describe it.
Okay.
They're interesting people. There were many in Lebanon, and they're very loyal to the country they're in. So they're very good soldiers. They serve with the Israeli Defense Forces, and they do wonderful food. But what happened was 2 Druze young men took their car into the territories, Palestinian territories, into Jenin, because it's cheaper to get your car fixed. And they spoke Arabic. But the problem is they had a crash when they were there, serious crash. Oh. One was airlifted to Israel proper. The other ended up in Jenin hospital. Mm-hmm. Terrorists found out he was there and came in and turned off the life support system and killed him and stole the body.
Stole the body?
Stole the body, I know, yeah. And I think the family were there at the time. Now, the Druze said, if you don't release the body, we're going to come and get him. So quickly his body appeared. Because you don't mess with the Jewish people.
Really?
So this is a horrible escalation, you know. And but just this week, a couple of IDF soldiers were suspended because I think they put a bomb in a Palestinian home. And Israel's very good at that. They won't have that sort of thing happening, you know.
So they deal with that straight away?
Yeah, they won't have reprisals. They won't allow independent maverick behaviour. So.
Yeah, they won't loose cannons.
Things are simmering. Things are simmering in many of the communities, especially the Arab communities in Israel.
Okay. So if we wanted to fly out from the UK, we can go with you. You do tours and everything like that. But just generally, for someone visiting for the first time, going to Israel, it's like going anywhere.
It is.
It's the same.
Safe. Yeah, we did. So
going anywhere.
We went there, my wife and I, and we did a lot of nighttime walks. We went into the old city, 8, 9 at night, just wandered around the city. It's fine. It's healthy. And
it's okay. It's very busy.
Never hill risky or anything like that. No, I mean there's certain
cosmopolitan.
If you go to Jerusalem, it's absolutely fine. There's lots of tourists as well.
And what about the wall, the prayer wall?
Mm-hmm, the Western Wall.
The Western Wall. Did you go there this time?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, went there. Prayed.
What's it like? What's it feel like? What's the atmosphere? What goes on?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful place to go to. You know, it's not the temple. It's the nearest point. Well, it's not actually the nearest point you get to the temple, but when they recaptured Jerusalem in 1967, that was the nearest place you could get to the temple. So it has become a place of prayer. There's a ladies section and a men's section, and you have to show respect by covering your head when you go there as a man. And it's just good to pray there and to see people praying, especially on Shabbat on a Friday night. Yeah, it gets really crowded. People are dancing and singing and praying.
So it's a great presence. It's a great atmosphere. Really peaceful, calming. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you managed to get there. You done that. Accommodation was good. Food was all right. No bombs. You were safe completely. Okay, you went to the recording studio. You visited your offices and everything. What else did you get up to? What else?
Okay, well, we had a lot of refugees coming into Israel. Yeah, from Ukraine and from Russia. More from Russia. Many of them Jewish refugees.
More from Russia.
Yeah, they don't want to serve in the army.
Yeah, because that was a big thing not long ago, wasn't it? When suddenly they announced what they announced, and there was a big
description. Yeah.
We're gone.
Yeah, loads of people. I think Finland closed their border.
Yeah.
Didn't they? Moldova has seen many Russians, and other countries on the border as well. People just
very sad, isn't
want
it?
To serve
all this stuff that's going on.
So we've seen more Russians and Ukrainians coming. So we've already had a project. So we have a couple of projects. Firstly, we are supporting a children's home in Kiev, which is oversubscribed. Secondly, we've had a couple of projects on the border of Poland, Ukraine, Moldova, Ukraine, that sort of area, helping refugees to come over and get onward transportation to Europe or to Israel. And the third thing is that the fourth thing actually, because the third thing is that we've bought wood burning stoves. You mentioned those at the beginning.
This is good.
Because, of course, the Russians are targeting the power sources now.
And I heard, was it today or yesterday, talking about they're trying to get their water supply as well, and they're trying to, all sorts of things are going on. Yeah. So the wood burning stoves.
You bought a load of those.
So how will you distribute those? What is the plan? How do you know who to choose? That's a navigating.
5 of our team in Israel were originally from Ukraine.
Okay.
So they grew up there.
So you got an inroad straight in.
They know loads of people who live in all different cities in Ukraine, so they know who needs help, how to get the help, and they're family relatives. There's a lot of links between Ukraine and Israel.
Is it really?
Facebook groups where someone's in a Facebook group. That's what we managed to help someone who was in a Facebook group in a congregation in Ashdod and was in a southern city in Ukraine. So there's lots of connections. We know who we're helping and how.
It's not just smuggling Bibles; it's smuggling wood-burning stoves.
Yeah, but I think they'll get them on site or get them in Poland.
This is amazing. So
it's good to be able to help.
So you're not just giving the gospel, but you're actually giving the gospel practically.
Oh yeah.
You're feeding people. You're looking after people. Churches are being built. Music is coming from that. Very important part of the Word of God, and also you're warming families.
Yes,
you're warming families
on site.
On site. This is fantastic stuff. And how many you're hoping, or you don't know, is how long's that project? What is the target? You just someone needs a stove, we get a stove.
Well, that's it. The thing was that we did it sort of quite a reaction. If anybody gets our magazine, you can still get it through our website. The December magazine that's just come out today that tells about how we saw a need and just paid for them.
And just
that was a one-off project. I mean, even I didn't know about it until it happened, which was fine. Because because our guys in Israel, they've got the contacts on the ground.
They're on the front line.
People said we haven't got any electricity, we haven't got any heat.
What do we do? Stoves.
It's good that we have this within Maoz. We have a grant-making fund called I Stand with Israel, where we help those in great need. So we have a lot of flexibility in that. Obviously, we have a board that decides things, but it means that the finances that people send us, we're grateful for them. Wouldn't exist without them. Is that we can make a quick decision like that, and we can say, right, let's get these stoves, let's get these people warm. So,
and the thing is, they're on the front line, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're right out in the thick of it. They know they know the need. We've got to warm these families. We've got to do this, and thank God for the finance that's there. Yeah. What a great project to be able to warm someone's home.
Yeah. Makes a difference, doesn't it? Yeah.
What food, water, clothing, the major elements of someone's comfort. It's like it's amazing. It's amazing. So that's a really good project.
Yeah.
And what else is happening in that world that you walk around in Israel? Politically, very interesting. Things are happening. There's stuff rumbling around, as there always is.
Just after we arrived, so the election was at the beginning of November. So we arrived about a week later after they had the election. We still don't have a new prime minister. It's funny that, isn't it? People think, didn't Benjamin Netanyahu win the election? Well, he did, but they are given 28 days to form a coalition government.
Right. Okay.
So Yair Lapid is still prime minister until this coalition is formed by Netanyahu. If he can't form it after 28 days, it's another election. But it looks like it's going to happen because he's got a coalition of what some call right-wing, but religious parties. So you've got his party, which is the largest party, but then you've got 3 or 4 religious parties. When I mean religious, I mean Orthodox Jewish parties. And, some of these guys, so we like the stability. We've had 4 elections in 5 years.
4 elections in 5 years.
Get that right. Is it 5 and 4? 4 and 5, I think it is.
So because every time we seem to chat,
I know.
It seems to be we're talking about another election. Why do they happen so much? What is it?
Well, it's what you have to do to form. There's 120 seats in what's called the Knesset, which is the parliament, and to form a government, you have to have more than half, so 61.
61.
And it's often happened over the last number of years that the coalition of parties has only made up 61.
Right.
So they've just about got to 61.
Just got
so
through.
You need one person to say, I don't like this government anymore, and the government collapses.
That's it.
That's what was happening.
So just one person. So if you're stretching into the 70s and 73s, you've got a bit more movement.
Yeah, but that's not over a long time.
But that hasn't.
It's about 65, 67, the new government.
Wow.
Which is very stable compared to what we had before.
So just one person
can bring the government down, which is what happened with the last government.
I don't know if it'd be right. What if someone dies? Is it the same effect?
I think it would be, yeah.
Or they have got someone they can put back.
I don't know, actually.
It's quite an interesting way that this government works, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So it's not that it's unstable, it's just the way it has worked.
It is, it's how it works, yeah.
It's how it works.
I don't go in the interest people vote, and depending on what the percentage of the vote, you get a certain number of seats. That's sort of how it works. So you have a list of people, like, for example, your party leader will be number 1, your party deputy will be number 2. So the percentage of the vote, it will go down to how many seats you get. So that's how it sort of works.
Very different to us.
Yeah, it is very. We're first past the post. People don't like that because people would say, lots of people vote for a party that never gets any seats.
Yeah.
But it does lead to a government where you elect a government and it is a government for a fixed term unless they decide to dissolve, which I think, for better or worse, I think is a better system. It's more stable economically.
Yeah, so it's moving the right way.
Yes, it is. It's a stable government in Israel, but it is this part. A number of these parties that are now there. There's going to be. He has to have ministers, obviously, like our government does. Yeah. So you have the prime minister, and then he has to appoint senior ministers like defence and justice and home affairs. Now it looks like these offices of state are going to be held by people that are, some might say unsuitable. I wouldn't say that. I mean.
Yeah,
I wanted to sue me, but people who are not really qualified. They're very religious people. What's most important to them is religion, and have they got enough experience to run a great office of state?
Because there is a difference, isn't there, between being really schooled and theologically sound to literally moving an area of business and understanding what the needs of the government needs to do. Right. There's a big difference, isn't there?
And a lot of minorities are worried. Arab minorities are worried.
I can see why.
Believers like ourselves, I mean, obviously I'm a British citizen, I'm not an Israeli citizen, but, there are only a small amount of believers, 20, 30,000 believers in Israel. And if there's
very small, isn't it?
It's very small, 9 million people here. And if there's anyone they're going to target, they're going to target Messianic Jews.
Messianic Jews.
Because they would say, these people aren't Jewish anymore, they follow Jesus. And it's already difficult for a Jewish follower of Jesus to make Aliyah. And what Aliyah means is to become a citizen. Now, it looks like they're going to make that harder, even harder, as if it isn't hard already. And there's other things they want to change. They're against the LGBTQ plus agenda, but there's also things that they want, like, for example, in Israel, and there's a nice aspect to this. On the Shabbat, things stop. There's no buses. I was
going to come to this. So this is a Friday
sundown.
Sundown.
It's a Saturday sundown.
Now they don't use the TikTok like we do. I'm not talking about TikTok, the social media. I'm talking about the clock, the traditional clock. So leading into what we were just about to say, the Shabbat.
Yes. Yeah.
So you go to work on Friday morning.
A lot finish on Friday.
Oh, they actually don't
finish on Thursday. Sorry.
So they finish on Thursday.
I have Friday and Saturday off. Yeah.
So it's the Friday and the Saturday. So Thursday is their last work day.
Yeah. Although, there are some that open on Friday. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a quieter day generally.
Yeah.
For many working places like offices and etc.
So what would a very traditional family do from a Thursday night until Saturday evening?
Yeah. Well, Friday is not technically the Shabbat, so they would do. Maybe family. Some would be at work. Some would do family things. But the key thing is when you're heading towards the sundown on the Friday. So getting
the sundown is very, very important.
It is, yeah. End of the day.
End of the day. So they don't go by the clock. No, they don't. They go by the weather system.
That's right. Yeah, the sun, basically. So
okay.
So what so that will be Shabbat. And there's some aspects. It's nice not to do anything to have a day when things shut down, isn't it?
And you literally just keep yourself indoors.
Yeah.
So your food's prepared, you relax.
Time with your family.
Time with your family, which is very unusual.
It's nice.
It's very, very nice to do.
But not when it becomes religious.
Now, this is the issue, isn't it? When it becomes religious, it loses its meaning.
Yeah, when you force people
this is what you are doing.
You're going to do. This is how you... People sometimes say, Christians say, because they're interested in the concept of Shabbat. And they will ask a question. They will say, how do you do Shabbat? And already you've lost the point in it, because you don't do it.
You don't do it.
You don't have to have certain candles. You don't have to say certain prayers. You don't have to do certain things. The idea of Shabbat is it's a rest. It's made for man, and it's made to have a rest, a day off. It's a commandment, actually.
It is the commandment, isn't it?
Have a rest.
Have a rest.
A day off.
But Friday within the UK is a mad day.
Yeah.
It can almost be the maddest day on planet Earth, can't it? Everybody's rushing around. So in Israel, it's very, very different.
Yeah, things do shut down.
And obviously, Jews that are here that follow all. So that wouldn't be a Messianic Jew, would it? Would it be a?
Yeah, not going to do. They see it as the day off.
So they see it as the day off as well.
Their identity.
So even though they might be, believers in Jesus Christ, as we know in Christianity, they will still take. They will still follow that very. It's very strict, is it? Is it a very like?
No. In a way, it's we have church on Sunday,
so it's.
But they have their congregations on Friday night or Saturday morning.
Okay.
Because that's the day when you come to worship together.
Yeah. So Sunday for us, they're back working.
Oh yeah, first day of the week. Always throws people, that does.
Yeah, it throws me.
Yeah. A morning on Sunday is like morning Monday.
Like a Monday rush hour.
Yeah.
Back to it.
Yeah, that throws people sometimes. I think, what are you doing on Sunday?
What are you doing?
Sunday's
School
Monday.
run. Sunday, Monday. Very interesting. Okay, so we've covered quite a lot. What else have we got? We have got probably 7 minutes, something like that. Time is escaping us.
Okay, yeah. So what else did we go and see? Well, we went to see a couple of other things. We went to see our refugee projects in the land. So that was going to see some homes that have been prepared for refugees coming into the land. That's obviously for people that are being received. And then also we went to visit. We have a project in the Palestinian Authority areas. And this project leader, they provide a number of things for very disadvantaged families that have children with additional needs, lots of children with additional needs. And so they have a Christmas party at Christmas. At Christmas, obviously. So they invite lots of families, children in. They, Father Christmas, they have presents, they have sweets, they have games. And it is really, for where they're working, which is a very deprived area in the Palestinian areas, it really is a highlight of the year. So they do this Christmas party. They also do a summer camp and something at Easter as well. So we're funding that. Well, our supporters are funding it because they're giving us support. So that's a really good project there. So we went to visit the project leader and to hear what he's doing, and to visit his family who live in the old city and everything. That must be a
frontline, arduous ministry.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's not all glitz and glamour, is it? When you look at the westernised church, I think it's going on, and then we hear what's going on in Israel, the frontline ministry and all that. Quick question: you mentioned the healthcare and looking after people. What is, obviously we've got the great NHS. What is the situation in Israel?
Yeah, I mean, it's like most other countries in the world, really, isn't it? They don't have a national health service. There is costs involved in using hospitals and doctors. Obviously, there is emergency care for those in need, and there are charities like there are in any other country that do help and do give free point of care health-wise. But like any other one, health insurance, you need to buy health insurance, really.
That's that simple. Yeah,
it is like...
It's that simple.
We're spot, aren't we? The NHS is a wonderful organisation. Really,
I tell you what,
under so much pressure now. It really is, but it is wonderful.
There's an area for prayer there, isn't it? The NHS. It's a serious area because it is beyond human understanding what they do. The doctors and the nurses stretch beyond unbelief. But if you was to live anywhere else, God bless you, if you used to live anywhere else in the world, you would suddenly realise how powerful the NHS is. And we must pray that God will open the doors and really bless and continue this great NHS movement, this great service that we have here in the UK. And I've often wondered what it's like in Israel. Obviously, if you're a traveller, if you're travelling and just like you would, and you've got all your documentation, you just get in, zipped through and all that. Is there many hospitals dotted about? Are they few and far between?
No. Do you know, the healthcare is really good. When we went, my wife and I went to Israel in 2019, November 2019, so a couple of years ago. And she fell over on the west. You can walk on the walls of Jerusalem. It's very unstable. That's the only thing about going to Israel. you've got to be mobile. It's hills. It's like
You got to be
2,000 years
quite
old.
well.
No, we're not there, but
Yeah.
it's old, and you need to be mobile. And she was in fact, she didn't fall down. She was holding onto a metal pole, and she fell and twisted her arm and did a spiral fracture, a very serious fracture in her upper arm. We got another week in Israel out of it,
Praise
paid
the
by the
Lord.
insurance company. But
Sorry,
we
Elizabeth.
ended up in 2 hospitals, and they were stunning. In fact, 2 doctors were Jewish guys from Manchester who looked after us.
No way.
Yeah, they were.
Jewish guys from Manchester.
Yeah, they were, and the medical care was great. It really was. Yeah, so they did. We couldn't fault that at all.
So you've actually experienced it at first hand first
been
arm.
in Israeli hospitals,
And to be looked after beautifully,
very good.
perfectly.
By Arab doctors and nurses and Jewish doctors and nurses working together.
Jewish
And Arab, yeah, there is.
and Arab doctors.
Oh, there is a High Court judge who's an Arab. There are lawyers.
Wow.
There are doctors. People say, "Oh, Israel is an apartheid state,"
Yeah.
and I always say, "Oh, you've never been there, then, obviously." Because there was a previous senior Israeli politician who was put in jail for corruption by an Arab judge. Now, if there's apartheid, that would never happen.
That would have never happened.
If Arab people are being oppressed,
Yes.
then that would never have happened.
No.
So we see that all over Israel.
Brilliant stuff. Right, Brian, we have a couple of minutes. What is there? How can, what's the best way to, what's your advice if someone wants to go and visit Israel? Would you, obviously, what you offer is fantastic and wonderful. Is it an easy place to just visit if you went suddenly, let's just go to Israel?
Actually, it is.
It really is.
Because you don't need a visa.
No.
Well, from the UK, you don't need a visa. Sorry, you have to check obviously what country you're in. You have to check that, and many countries do. But if you're going from the UK, you don't need a visa. You get the visa on point of entry. So you need insurance, including COVID. You need that insurance. You need a passport.
Yeah.
But actually, there was nothing stopping you, Ben, or anyone from the UK of looking onto a website now. You know, like British Airways, EasyJet, Ryanair. I think Ryanair flying soon. EasyJet and flying tomorrow.
So it's that easy.
Yeah, it's that easy. Yeah, there's no COVID restrictions at all.
There's no restrictions. You
don't have inoculation.
No.
You don't have to have proof that you've not had recovered or anything.
Yeah.
You do have to declare that you've not got it. You know, which is sensible anyway.
Sensible,
That's what the airline do. Don't get on their plane if you've got COVID, obviously. But it's very easy to get there. And then from the station, they've got a brand new train system now. It's always been a bit of a joke, the Israeli trains.
Is it?
They say, if you want to go over there, you have to go over it first, you know. But now they've got this train that costs about £6, and it takes you really quickly either into Tel Aviv or into Jerusalem. And it takes you actually to the potential bus station. I know we was talking about that, but it's wonderful. So you can get a train that goes through mountains and over valleys.
That must be
straight to Jerusalem, and it takes, less than an hour.
So it's a pretty easy trip. Not taking anything away from your tours, but obviously people think, I wonder what it's like. Is it easy? Yeah. Is it just like booking a trip to go abroad as it is from here on an ordinary holiday? You can just go online, book hotels. Is there plenty of hotels?
Well, there is pressure on hotels.
Yeah.
Like, for example, next May is the 75th anniversary of the refounding of the modern state of Israel.
So it's going to be rammed.
That every hotel and every flight is already booked. And they remember that just before the lockdown, they had 4.5 million tourists. But Israel's aim in the next decade is to have 10 million tourists a year. It's quite an ask, about 10 million tourists.
So
many people want to go.
Is there building projects going on?
Oh, I'll tell you, Israel is, we call it the Gate of Israel as you come in, Gate of Jerusalem as you come in there. And some people say the national bird of Israel should be the crane. The crane.
Because
there are cranes everywhere.
So they're
building tunnels for new roads to make the roads run better. They're building hotels.
So it's really coming up and it's moving. And obviously Israel is very high in technology as well, isn't it?
Very high, yeah. Leads the world in many areas of technology.
I never knew that. I never realised until I was reading an article and thinking, what?
Do you know what? If you're qualified in IT, you can get a job next week in Israel. You don't even need to speak Hebrew. The tech companies are calling out, and I've seen adverts, because somebody told me this. I thought, what? And so I looked it up, and if you've got a tech qualification, you'll get a job in Israel.
It's a place to go and work.
Even if you don't speak a word of Hebrew, because they all speak in English in these businesses.
So the NATE is growing on every level.
It is growing.
It's growing.
Despite the pressure and what's happening around.
And that's what fascinates me, the pressure and the tension that has been there forever, and everything that goes on, it is exploding through tourism.
It leads in all those areas.
It is growth. It is healthy. Talk about God moving. God moving.
We're planning a tour next year, a Maoz tour, which will be different nations coming together. That'd be even more fun.
Wow.
So we'd have people coming from the States, from Brazil, from the Far East, and we're gonna have some fun. We're putting it together probably towards the end of the year, and we'll have maybe even end up with a couple of coaches. So, and that'll be a Maoz tour. We did one, a smaller one, just after lockdown, went very well. So if people want to come with us, they should get in contact with us.
How many tours do you do a year? 1, 2?
Well, I don't tend to do tours now. I take leaders. Like, for example, in June of next year, I'm going with Elim churches.
Excellent.
Working with the missions department, taking a small group of Elim leaders, young leaders. So we're just bringing that together now. And then there's a couple of other plans to go with leaders, really. I tend to do shorter trips. I take 5 or 6 pastors for less than a week. And we'll go and visit.
You go and visit the ministries and the work.
Yeah, try and find partnerships.
But anyone can literally go on Maoz site and literally book a trip with you.
Or get in contact with us. And
and they'll facilitate and signpost people in the right direction. Brian, it's been absolutely fantastic. We thank you so much. It's really interesting just having a catch-up, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Just literally listening to see what's going on in that beautiful land of Israel. And we thank you so much wherever you are across the world today for joining us. And whatever your time is here within the UK, it is almost 5:15 on a Thursday afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this broadcast. May God bless you and strengthen you. You can find our good friend Reverend Brian Greenaway on the social networks, and you can find him on that ministry page. So have a look, have a poke around, see what you can come up with, support it through prayer, finances, if God is leading you in any area of that, and go and visit Israel. Go and explore what God is doing across the world as well. May God bless you. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon wherever you are across the world. God bless. Take care. Stay safe.
Church Family's latest podcast. You can find us on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Alexa, Mixcloud, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Thank you so much, podcasters across the earth. Thank you from the very bottom of our heart here at Christian Straight Talk for the thousands of downloads across the earth. We are literally blown away by what is happening here in our studio. And we just want to encourage you on Buzzsprout, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and so many other platforms that we are pushing these to. We just want to say, will you come and walk with us to another platform? Will you stretch your eyes? Will you stretch your legs? Will you come to Patreon? You know, you've probably heard of it. You probably are supporting some other creators on there, some other podcasters, but will you come and support us? Just download the app. It's simple. It's easy to find in the App Store. And then once you've found CST, Christian Straight Talk, and then it becomes really easy. Just choose between 2 tiers, the Jonathan or the David. And you know how it works, podcasters. There is so much exclusive content for you on there. There's encouragement, there's Holy Communion, there's uncountable podcasts, video casts. There is so much, and we would love for you to journey with us. Thank you so much to everybody across the world, you podcasters. You are making us smile from the inside out. God bless. Have a great day. We'll see you soon in Jesus' name. God bless.